Welcome to Season 1, Episode 3 of Sensei Speaks, Life Without the Filter, where the masks come off, the truth comes forward, and the wisdom flows. Thank you for joining me tonight. Let's take a deep breath, settle in, and grow together. Tonight's episode is a special episode where we will discuss the Reset, Refocus, Rebuild Retreat coming in March of 2026. For those who don't know, my name is Paula Bell, and I am the host of Sensei Speaks and your host for tonight. But before we jump in, I have a couple of disclaimers. I am not a therapist and will not offer any medical advice. I am not trained, qualified, or able to diagnose or treat any form of mental illness or disorder. And some topics may be triggering, so if you have to step away, I totally understand. Please definitely interact via chat or comments. If you have any questions, post them in the chat or in the comment section, as we may be able to answer them live. And as always, subscribe to the Life Coach Sensei YouTube channel. You can also find the show Sensei Speaks, Life Without the Filter, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Now it is time to jump right in. This evening, I am happy and honored to be joined by a dear friend of mine who I will be co-hosting the Reset, Refocus, Rebuild Retreat with in March in South Dakota, Mr. Tamian Dysart. How are you doing, my friend? How are you doing?
I'm amazing. I am amazing. How are you?
It's good. You know what? Even though all this snow and everything's hit, I'm doing real good. I'm happy to have this conversation with you tonight. Something that we've been cooking up for a little while.
I'm ecstatic to have this conversation. It's not talked about enough. We're in denial in society in so many ways, and we're going to talk about that tonight. So I'm excited for the conversation.
Well, some people may not know you. You were definitely a guest with me and Solo on Keeping You Wise by Keeping It Real about a year ago when we were talking about I believe it might have been, actually, it could have been very similar to this. We were talking about setting goals, motivation, all of that good stuff. But for those who may not know you, can you tell us a little bit of who are you, Tamian?
Tamian Dysart. I am a father of 3 beautiful girls. I am a CEO of a couple of companies, Think 3D, Elevate You. Hugh, I'm a current chair for the Chamber of Commerce here in the city of Sioux Falls. I'm a life advocate at the core of it. I'm a life advocate. You know, I'm passionate about the potential that lies inside of each and every one of us. And, you know, the core of it for me is really helping people unlock that human potential, whether that's within organizations or at retreats like the one that we're going to be hosting here in a few months.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Well, why don't we just jump right in? We're going to be doing this retreat in March at the Culture Cove. So can you tell people the heart behind the Culture Cove and how this 3-day experience was designed?
Absolutely. So Culture Cove, so the core of one of my companies, Think 3D, we work with organizations to build intentional culture, right? One of our core statements is a culture will emerge whether intended or not, but if it's not one that you invest in, it is most certainly one that you pay for. Keyword in that is you. And so a little bit outside of our normal business model, a few years back, Bonnie and my business partner and I, we were having some conversations. And we really recognize within the organizations that we work with, whether that's senior leaders down to frontline employees, like people need to get away. It's so easy to get caught up in justification of good enough, especially people. We talked about the snow and the cold, right? I use the reality of the mindset, right? When Europeans were coming across the United States and the ones that chose to stay here versus continuing west, what they call them? They called them settlers. And when you look at that mindset of settling for good enough, like we have an addiction across our entire country of good enough. It's fine. It's okay. But the reality is we can look at all of the data. You can look at mental health data. You can look at anxiety and depression, all the various things that are out there. We're so good at justifying good enough. And so we took a big leap and we bought a 10-acre property in Meckling, South Dakota, about an hour south of Sioux Falls, right near the Nebraska, South Dakota border. And in this retreat space, we were very intentional because there was nothing like this space anywhere in the Midwest. And we knew we had to have a place where people could truly unpack, get vulnerable, get honest, reset, recharge, the whole nine. I mean, really the name of this retreat was really probably the core of what we wanted to do. And so we built this state-of-the-art property. It's a 10-acre property, 25 bedrooms, state-of-the-art gym, kitchen, so on and so forth. So individuals and teams had an opportunity to find that safe space to be able to get away and do some of those things. And so we do a lot of retreats out there, rented out to organizations doing their own retreats, but it was really built with the intention of allowing that space. And so the retreat you and I are going to have the honor and privilege of resetting, refocusing, rebuilding in March. We've been friends for a very long time, and both obviously huge advocates of investing into ourselves, if you would. And so really the world right now needs a big reset. It needs a refocus, and it absolutely needs to rebuild to something better than what we are in right now.
So let's go a little bit deeper on that. First of all, I have to give a shout out to the Culture Cove itself. I have been there, and it is a state of the art. I don't even know how to even say. I wish I had actually had some forethought to bring up some of the pictures that I took while I was there. But I was there for specifically just to have some time to just be. And so that's another retreat that you do as well. But I had some time to just be and to just actually we cooked up this whole concept when we were there. But it is an amazing space. You have everything you need in that space. But you were talking about, justifying being good enough and the need for this particular retreat now. What patterns are you seeing in people today that make you feel that this retreat, this topic is so necessary?
Let's go back to the justification. I always ask people, who's the greatest justifier of all time? And the answer is ourselves. Fresh today, I did a training session with a client, about 50 individuals, all in their professional career. And I started the session off with one of my favorite questions. Year to date, today is December 8th, right? Year to date, how many of you are on pace to have the best year of your life? 5, hell yes. 1, absolutely not. I want to have a do-over, right? And so when I asked the question about 50 individuals, how many are on pace to a 4 or a 5 of having the best year of your life? 45, close to 50% of people raised their hands. And when I started hitting with all the realities of life and the justifications, at the end of it, I asked a very key question. How many of you feel confident that your kids or your future kids would sign up to live the same exact life that you are living? Guess how many hands went up? Like 3. Far cry from 45%, right? So just in that space of when you ask people, how are you doing? Just listen for a minute of the reflections. How many people have already hit the cruise control? Next year, 2026 is going to be my year. And so if everyone just simply asked the 20 people in their sphere, how's life? How are you doing? Are you even aspiring to live your best life? You'd be lucky to come up with 1 or 2 people who are actually thriving. So the time of this of investing into ourselves, not just resetting for the year, but truly resetting your life, no matter what your age is, then obviously refocusing, because where focus goes, energy flows. And you think about nationally, globally, all the things that has our attention, right? Stuff that's happening in DC, stuff that's happening across the world, stuff happening locally. There's so much stuff that's pulling our attention in that space. And really going back to the idea of we have an opportunity, we live in a free country. We have the freedom to choose where we work, who we marry, who our friends are. And even when we complain about cold, we can choose to live wherever we want. How many people are actively, like truly actively working to build their best life? And most individuals couldn't get to 5 people in their sphere of hundreds and thousands of people who are actively living their best life. So the timing of this, if you're a person that says, you know what, I can feel it inside of me, I have more potential inside me, I'm excited to provide this platform alongside of you of helping people see what's possible, and then give them, more importantly, a blueprint of how to do so.
So let's talk a little bit about what they can expect in this conference. I know we haven't really talked about it. They have the theme Reset, Refocus, Rebuild. If you had to sum it up in just a couple of key points, what would you say is the expectation that people can look forward to who attend this particular retreat?
It starts with really deep inner work. The core of that, I mean, if you really strip everything else away, the core, if you want to know the real secret of success, everyone talk about the secret of stuff. The real secret of success is only found through self-discovery. And when you think about how many of us have spent any amount of time really going within in the busyness of life, it really, the core theme to one is you're going to spend a lot of time really coming to a lot of ahas of areas of your life that you could improve, that you've been justifying. But then really when you start to tap into your potential, I'll sum it up with this one statement. Are you actively pursuing, are you actively becoming the version of you that the future you would be proud of? And that's such a beautiful question, because if you're genuinely proud of yourself and proud of the work that you're putting in, does it really matter what anyone else says? And so that's why I'm excited about, mind, body, spirit. Like, it's a holistic thing that we're jumping into. And so that is my end of it, where I'm excited to give people a baseline. Many people are going to hear stuff for the first time. Some people are going to hear stuff they've heard before, but in a different light. But it's going to come together in a way that really says, I don't care who you are. I mean, I've engaged with high functioning CEOs that come to these type of retreats, and they recognize, man, I have more potential inside of me. So that's my perspective. Paula, you're my co-pilot here. What's got you excited? As we were at a quiet retreat, right? Spending time working on us, and we just happen to be just. What do you think about this? And we got cooking. What's got you excited that we're cooking up something beautiful for the world to taste?
Well, the first thing that I will say is I remember when we worked together in corporate America, and I was a manager supporting your area. And I remember when you said to me then, I truly believe we've been connected. We've been put together for a reason. We are going to be doing stuff together, and we're going to do stuff globally together. I remember that. I remember where I was standing. I remember that day. And so this to me is those words coming to fruition. So for me, it's the manifestation of the words, and how powerful your words can be, and how powerful when you believe you can manifest the things that you don't even see yet, but you're manifesting those things into the future. So for me, this is just a confirmation of something that we had talked about years ago, right? So that's the first thing that was exciting to me, that it's actually coming to fruition.
Like
The
10 to 12
second
years
thing,
ago, for those folks that don't know.
yeah, like 10, yeah, like over a decade ago, right? It was over a decade ago, and now it's happening. And it was happening in a space, to your point, where we were working on ourselves, but we both have components of mind, body, and soul in what we do. You have a specific focus, I have a specific focus, and just imagine those two things coming together, and you have all of this experience, all of these all this knowledge. We spent a lot of money, time on gaining knowledge, on understanding ourselves, and understanding internally who we are and how we engage with others, and now we want to give that information. And not only that, we know other people that we're going to pull in for certain segments that can even help take the message even deeper. And it's just having those connections and that sort of camaraderie that's just amazing to me. So I'm excited to see, number one, our words, right? Really your words, my agreement manifesting in the present. And then I'm also excited the experience of, not only are we going to be imparting gems, but we're going to be pulling stuff back too, because we're going to be learning about the individuals who are in front of us. And I love that piece of it too, because there are probably going to be things that we're going to learn or never thought of never experienced, that now we're going to have our eyes open to in a different perspective, while we still focus on mind, body, and soul. And that's my thing. This retreat is a holistic retreat. And that's what I'm about, right? Let's start with your mind. Let's get your mind right. There are body components in it, intentional movement, all sorts of things. And then you can do your soul work. And so is all of those things, you're getting a chance over this 3 to 4 day experience to get those things grounded, to get them aligned, to position yourself in a stronger foundation than probably what you came into the retreat with. You're leaving stronger than you came in, and you're letting go and leaving those things behind that don't serve you. And that's what I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see the transformation.
Yeah, you can take the probably out of it. Money back guarantee. You will I've had hundreds of people go through various retreats, and I know what we got cooked up here. As I was sharing with her when we talked about this a few weeks ago, it was like when I put the final details on my end of it and I saw what you got, I'm like, I want it to happen tomorrow, because again, it's my favorite thing is seeing people shed the things and leave with more confidence, because that's what our world needs right now, is people to invest in themselves to make the world around them better.
So, as you say that, it makes me think of this question. And I know you are an avid reader and you're around. Why do you think more than 70% of adults feel like they're just going through the motions right now? Why do you think that is the feeling?
Biology. I mean, I studied the brain a lot. I studied neuroscience. I studied all these various things, right? Let this sink in, right? The average person has about 60,000 thoughts a day, right? 60,000 thoughts happening with or without you, all those various things. And the core of that is our brain structure, right? 86 billion neurons, about 100 to 500 trillion synapses connections. We have an addiction to who we've been. Your brain doesn't care about good or bad. It doesn't care about right or wrong. Your brain wants familiar. You want one core statement. Again, we've all heard this data. 90 to 95% of people who grow up in drug-ridden homes or abusive homes repeat the cycle. 90 to 95%. You got to ask yourself, if you grew up in that environment, why in the hell would you ever repeat it? One reason: it's familiar. And so what happens is you start to ask yourself, I heard this a while ago. We've all heard that you are the average sum total of the 5 closest people to you. We've all heard that plenty of times. They said that's not just a simple metaphor, because most people say, yeah, I know. That's not a metaphor. That's neuroscience. And so if the sphere of people that you hang around, how you doing? Good enough. It's Monday, living the dream, all that BS, right? If you're not around people that are striving to be the next better version and the next better version, you're going to fall into the average conversation. You're going to fall into the average crap that's happening on social media, all the BS. And so there's so much content nowadays. There's so much stuff to get distracted by. We have an addiction to good enough. It could be better, but it's not bad. At least it's not like my parents had it. At least it's not like so-and-so over there in this other country, all these various things. When the reality is, like, even when people say like, it could be worse, until you're dead, that's always a true statement. That can't be our barometer. And so 70% plus are stuck. They're stuck in a rut, right? A rut literally in the snow, right? Is when the stuff there, the patterns of thinking, they haven't come from it. They don't see it. They're not exposed to it. And so when they hear stories of success, or even people on social media, which is obviously somewhat fake, if you would, or some of it exaggerated, most people don't really believe it. And more importantly, they don't believe it's possible for them because they've never invested into themselves, period.
Well, all right. Well, there you have it. I don't even know where to go with that one, but that right there is the knowledge you're going to be getting during the reset, refocus, and rebuild.
You do life coaching. You do life coaching, and this is, you unpack that. This is people who pay you, and I know you're good at what you do, right? When you start to, again, how are you? You're the sensei. You're having to brain wrestle people, right? Same type of stuff. Like, yes. Why do you suppose it's so hard? I mean, again, even when you have a coach, how it takes so much longer. And these are people who are already invested in themselves. What are you seeing in your coaching? Why it's so hard for them to stay stuck?
Some of it is fear. Some people are fearful of success, which I didn't even think that was really a thing, but it really is a thing. Some people are fearful of what might actually happen before it actually happens. They have these preconceived notions of what they think their future is going to look like. And it may not even look like that, but that limiting belief is stopping them from really just letting go and surrendering and allowing themselves to walk or run into their purpose. In addition to that, what I tend to find with individuals that I coach is a lot of limiting beliefs. The words have power. And this is why I try to instill this in people. The words you speak over yourself manifest. The words you allow other people to speak to you or over you manifest. And there are a lot of people who've been told some things in their life that they've carried with them all their life, and they believe it. And first of all, getting them to acknowledge it, then getting them to acknowledge that it's not true, then giving them strategies to take that limiting belief and make it a positive affirmation. and not stay in that limitation, but start to manifest and speak over your life is a whole other journey. And then it doesn't stop there, because they might have that acknowledgement. They might start that positive affirmation, but if they're in an environment that's not supportive, then you have to surround yourself with the people who can help to keep that positive affirmation and hold you accountable for that positive affirmation as you're living in whatever that dynamic is at home. So there's a lot of layers to it. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anger. And you know what I'm beginning to see too, Tamian, is in our young people. This is one of the reasons why I do have a segment of my business right now that's dedicated to our youth. Our youth are angry. So it's starting young. Mm-hmm. And so imagine if you are already angry and you ate, and there's nobody there who can help you change that mindset, who can provide you the gems and the knowledge to help you not feed into that anger, but really figure out who you are and hone in onto that, so that you can be the best version of yourself, so that you can be what you've been called to be, what you're destined to be. If you don't have that, you just have this vicious cycle of generational curses, of generational anger, of generational limiting beliefs, of generational issues that just keep happening over and over and over again. Somebody got to break the cycle.
Yeah.
And so there's just so many dynamics to it.
I'm glad because the core of that, right? We do work with teenagers as well. And what blows my mind, I've been sharing with them, like with these modern technologies with health, we're going to start seeing people live to be 120, 140. When I tell teenagers that, they're like, I don't want it. And I'm 46. I plan on living to be 120. And I'm like, give me as long as my mind and body is here, I want to be around. But to your point, why would they not want it? Because back to, they're not seeing it in the adults that they're around. They're not seeing it modeled. And you hit it on the head. Again, I didn't mention that. Well, limiting beliefs. That's the core. Again, you want to know why I'm excited about this? Because again, how do you change a limiting belief? You nailed it. You have to identify the limiting belief. You have to tell the new narrative. But to truly make it stick, you need new evidence that new narrative is more true than the old one. And so again, the content that we have at this retreat, it's going to be a blueprint. Simply, here's the money back guarantee. What I know matter of factly, what we're not ever going to hear is someone coming back and say, I checked off all the boxes of all the stuff you gave me to do from Reset, Refocus, Rebuild, and my life is the same. It's impossible. Like, it's impossible to do. And so, because that's going to be evidence that now all those stories, the affirmations, that new version of themselves, they're going to have the tools, they're going to have that evidence, and now they're going to have, more importantly, a new identity out there. So I saw Damaris, shout out to you. I see you put a comment out there. She was one of my groups. Where focus goes, energy flows. And so where we put our focus, up or down, I like it.
I love it. Yes. And I do love the interaction as well that's happening in the chat. I appreciate that as well. So I know we talked about mind. Let's go over to the body a little bit, and let's talk about how will the power of a relationship session help participants understand their circle. We'll start there first, and then I have a specific body question that I want to ask as well that both of us can answer. But I'm interested to hear about your power of relationships and the self-care and returning back to your body. How will that help the participants understand their circle and how to make sure that they're connecting in that way?
Yeah. So again, back to that, you are the average sum total of the 5 people you're around. The reality of that is our brains are wired to mirror each other, right? Again, we mirror the environments. If you have kids, your younger sibling or your younger child is mirroring the older siblings, all the various things, right? You see how quickly even something as stupid as 6'7" can go across the nation, because again, people see people doing it and they repeat what they see in the world around them. Well, Harvard's been doing a study on happiness. It's the longest standing study on happiness that exists. 80+ year longitudinal study, over thousands and thousands of pieces of data, all these various things. The number one indicator on your level of happiness in life, period, not a close 1 and 2, but a landslide number 1, is relationships. And so if you start to recognize, and we have this exercise that we take people through to do a relationship inventory, right? You look at the core 5 people in your sphere, and then you look at the next layer of the next 15 to 20 people in your life, including your coworkers, your friends and family. you cannot escape the average sum total of their vibrations. If you hang around 9 average-minded people, you will be the 10th one. And so that's where so many people get tripped up is they go to a retreat, they start to get around, or they read a book, they get inspired, and they start to share with other people. And they're like, come on, man, you gonna do that? And so I have never met a person that that didn't have an opportunity to upgrade their sphere, right? One of the dumbest songs that Drake has ever made, I'm not a Drake hater, but one of the dumbest songs he ever made was No New Friends. You should always have an application for quality people. And that's what I'm excited about, to share the power of it. And then for people to experience it within 3 days, people are going to be sharing stuff with people that they walked in as strangers, and they're going to walk away like accountability partners, friends, all the various things, because they're going through an experience. And if we can show them the power of what can happen of getting like-minded individuals on the same page, aspiring for better, all the various things in 3 days, they're going to see the impact of that. If they want to carry it forward, they'll have some accountability partners from that. But more importantly, they'll have the tools to start to go back and evaluate the world around them, which second part that you asked about is self-care, is one of my mantras in life. You teach through the clarity of your example. And part of the reason that people aren't able to change the sphere around them or elevate the sphere around them is because they're not vibrating it themselves. They read it in a book, they talked about it, but they don't embody it. They're not really it. It's not authentically them. And so when you start to put yourself on a path and you become it, and people's like, man, you're happier, you're more joyful. And you're like, yeah, I have a blueprint and I'm customized to becoming who I want to be. Now you can start to positively impact the world around you, your friends and family, because you can't give or pour into someone else's cup from an empty cup. Or if you're pouring out of a 60 to 70% full cup, then you start to pour into others. That's how you find yourself burned out. And so the power of relationships is one of the most underestimated opportunities in the workplace, underestimated opportunities on your pathway of growth and development. And this period, it's hands down, investing into quality relationships starts with a clear and present investment into yourself.
I love everything you said, and it's a great segue into why I asked this question first before I went into the body component. Because one of the things, as you mentioned, I am a life coach, but I'm also a group fitness coach. And so I have multiple days during the week where I teach group fitness. And I will have to say, my Saturday step class has become a community. It's been 5 years since I've been teaching step as of this past Saturday. And that class has become a community to where, thank you, to where not only do we come to work out and burn some crazy calories, but we also come to support each other, motivate each other, encourage each other. I have watched a group of ladies who we did not know each other. Many of us didn't know each other prior, have become really, really close, have become so close that we check in on each other, that we text each other, we do stuff outside of the class together. There was a Saturday, we sat down and we literally had a therapy session for 15 to 20 minutes before we actually went to step in. And we just got that ability to release. And it's amazing, the community that's been created. And that was always my goal, that you need these relationships to help you grow no matter what you're doing in life, whether it's for your fitness goals, whether it's for your business, whether it's for your career. No matter what, you need to have these relationships. And it's very important that you have the right relationships around you, like you said, because you can't have every and anybody around you. When we started the MEC back in 2016, I was real intentional on who I asked to be the core individuals for the MEC, because I felt it was really important that you have the right people foundationally for that sort of mastermind group. And we had the right people and we did great things. So I 100% agree. There's power in relationships. And I also agree you should always be reevaluating your circle, because at any point in time, there are certain people who are in your life for a season, a reason, and a lifetime. And sometimes those seasonal people can't elevate with you at certain parts of your life because they're not supposed to. And when you leave those seasonal people in there with lifetime expectations, that's when you really start to mess things up. So I 100% agree about that. There's one thing you said. I know I said I was going to go to body, but now I want to skip to something else, because there's one thing you said that really resonated with me that I would love for you to go a little bit deeper in, because this is part of the rebuild portion of the retreat as well, is you talked about writing your own story. How does this retreat help individuals who attend it rewrite old narratives?
The core there's a deep level of understanding, right? When you really break it down, I always say the two oldest questions that humans have been asking ourselves: who am I and why am I here? Identity and purpose, right? Those are the core two questions we've been asking since consciousness really came to about. We've been asked, like, who am I really, and why am I here? Identity and purpose. And so when people get to the realization, as we kind of talked about, and they start to recognize those limiting beliefs, where do they come from? You didn't choose them. It was your environments. It was the people around you. You adopted what somebody said to you at 7 years old. You adopted a mindset like your mother or your father. All these limiting things that happen. And so when you go back and start to understand the core of 60,000 thoughts a day and that pattern of thinking, because your personality, every individual's personality, is really a paradigm or pattern of their thoughts, their emotions, and their habits. If I understand how you think, if I understand the emotions that you feel, the frequency and the depth, and I understand your habits and behaviors, I'll get a very clear picture of your reality, your current reality. Everyone that's out there in the world has a slightly different reality based off those things. And so, for order for you to elevate your life, whatever your personality is equals your personal reality. We just like to say this is reality. It is what it is. No, it is as you allow it to be. And so when people start to understand, wait a second, where did my pattern of thoughts, emotions, and habits really come from? The majority of them came from the environments that I've been in. It came from people in my sphere. And when you start to recognize that, man, if I don't really love myself at the level that I should, or I don't really feel like I'm the authentic version of myself, it's because the vast majority of it, it's not like you took a piece of paper and you designed this version of you and said, yeah, this is the hero to my story. You just arrived at a certain place. Well, we're going to be having those conversations about when you understand the separation, you're not just who you've been, right? You get to decide. There's a deeper consciousness behind all of this. And when you start to recognize that you have a choice going forward, I'm doing a writing retreat upcoming this next weekend, and I'm writing my next book, The Author of My Life. When you recognize that you truly have a blank piece of paper in front of you and a pen, if you so desire, right? It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. When people really start to recognize the power that they do have to overcome, to think new thoughts, to then engage in new emotions, build new habits, that road leads down to a whole new path, which when people start to recognize the potential and the opportunity, I love asking the question, what if? And when people start to see, what if you just committed to personal development for the next 2 years? The rest of your life is going to look drastically different. And so just unlocking that for people, giving them that empowerment, that authority to say, you didn't decide to just be here, but going forward, if you stay here, that's now your responsibility. That is now your fault. But at this point, you can become the next better version and the next better version with intention and design, period.
So you were on my side a little bit breaking up. I don't know if we're having the same thing live. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
And I'm hearing you breaking up some. So I'm hearing like every other word that you're saying
It was all,
currently.
it was amazing. This just trust, every word was amazing. So.
I believe it was, and that's why I don't want anyone to miss all of the commentary. I don't know why it's showing that, or why you're coming across breaking up a little bit. Am I showing freezing at all on the screen on your side?
You're all good on my end. I'm seeing you clear.
Yeah, you sound a little bit like a robot. So let's try this. I'm gonna have you go out and come back in really quick. And let's see if we can reestablish a clearer connection, because I want to let everybody hear what you got to say, because you're saying some good stuff.
All right, so leave and I'll come back.
Yeah, leave and come back real quick. Let me see if that'll help with the connection.
All right.
And while Tamian is gone, hopefully you all can still hear me. Hopefully we'll have a good connection coming back. I am definitely excited about this retreat. Again, Tamian and I have been working on this. Well, we had an idea of doing something together for over a decade, but this is going to be something great where we, again, will have an opportunity to, whoever decides to come through will learn from them, and they'll learn from us. And I'm looking forward to just having a wonderful time of getting to know people. I will also be doing some intentional movement stuff as well, so I'll be bringing a little bit of my ninja peace swag also to the retreat. But Tamian, welcome back. I hope this connection stays good at this point. We'll see what happens. But I got another question for you. You've done a lot of leadership conferences, leadership retreats, a lot of different events. What would you say makes this one transformational, makes it different, gives that motivation for people to transform?
I think the core, going back to the idea, you and I not only have known each other for a decade plus, but when we really put together our level of intentionality, we both do coaching. We both really have invested over that. I mean, probably collectively, we're probably into $250,000 of investment into ourselves. And so what we're bringing this into this one 3-day, 3-night over 3-day experience is not just the experience, but it's stuff that works, right? Again, all my content, I went to the retreats, I read the books, I did, and most stuff was really rooted in, hey, if you do what I did, you too will be successful. Well, the challenge with that is that's not my authentic self. No, I can certainly mimic certain things that you do, but everything that we're talking about is rooted in self-discovery, giving people the idea of what does that look like for you? What does a reset look like for you? Where are the areas that you need to refocus? And then most importantly, how can you rebuild this life forward? How can you rebuild that best version of you, custom to who you are? And so the customization is going to be one of the biggest ones for me. The second one, we kind of touched on it, just even the space, getting people into this space of Culture Cove, right? We're maxing it out at 15 individuals. So it's going to be a very intimate setting for folks, and getting around like-minded individuals that would not only invest the money, which again, this is the bargain of this, they're going to get tens of thousands of dollars worth of value and content and things that will change their life for a fraction of the cost. But more importantly, sacrificing time away from their friends and family and all life that's happening to invest in themselves. And just so magic happens when those individuals that are willing to invest in them and take the time away, when you get around like-minded people, like energy, with the same goal, better as possible. And we are building the blueprint to build that better life. And then going forward, this is cohort number 1, because we're going to be doing at least a few of these a year, right? At every new cohort, you're building new groups of people that's going to show what's possible and truly changing the trajectory of your life going forward. So I'm excited about the camaraderie. I'm excited about, again, you and I putting the decades of experience, the tens of thousands of dollars of content, material, the stuff that we found works, discarded the stuff that doesn't work, added a lot of our own unique content that we've got created in this space, and really building this truly unique experience for individuals that guarantee they're going to leave better versions of themselves.
I love it. And I have to agree. When you start, I personally think the real transformation for me is going to start when people actually just let go and do that internal work and start to just really be vulnerable with themselves, not even with anybody else, just with themselves, and start to do that internal inner work that needs to be done. A space where you don't have to think about your day to day. You are in this space where it's all about you for once. It is 3 to 4 days of just about you. And it's going to be interesting to see the transformation there. The transformation will happen. I believe it's going to happen at different points for different people, but the transformation will happen. And I'm excited to see that and to see the birth of people now understanding how their mind works, how their body works, how their soul works, what they can do when they're going through stress, what are their strategies to handle that, what are some of those intentional movements they can do throughout the day to keep them motivated and energized. It's this whole holistic experience of not only just, again, getting your mind right, but putting it all together so you're aligned.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see that. I'm definitely excited to see that.
I want you to, because we skipped past it, because I was going to toss it to you, right? Again, so obviously you don't have to share the details, but life happens, right? Again, through transition, through businesses, life happens in relationships. Like, obviously, someone who focuses on body, like, why is that so important of when you're working through life? Because people are going through stuff. Why is that body component so important in the work that you've seen personally for yourself, for your clients? Why is that an important component of this retreat?
Well, I'll tell you, when I was working in environments that gave that little bit of toxicity, it does take a toll on your body. And when your body isn't functioning optimally, isn't working as well, that impacts everything else. If you don't feel good, it impacts. So think about it. When you have the flu, and most people probably had the flu, and it's beating you up. You have the fever, the chills, your body's just aching. You just feel lethargic. You don't feel like getting up and doing anything. You don't feel like you do good just laying there, getting some rest, getting some sleep. So let's just take that into everyday life. If you're not fueling your body with the right things, if you're not moving your body to keep it active, you're getting into that sluggish route. It impacts your mind and it impacts your soul. It impacts what you do, because at the end of the day, your body is the vessel that contains everything. Contains your mind, contains your heart, contains your organs, contains everything. And if your body isn't well, it does impact everything else that you do. So when I had made the decision to change up how I was treating my vessel, and I decided to do a health challenge, and the health challenge was not a diet, it was a lifestyle change. I wanted to make a change on how I did exercising, on how I did diet, nutrition, those sort of things. I made that conscious effort. And that change, people say to me all the time, I wish I had your energy. You can. You can. Nothing is stopping you from having it. You can. But you got to put in the work. You have to get up at 5:45 in the morning, or 5 o'clock in the morning, or 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever your time is, or work out at night. You have to watch what you eat. Okay, so sugar is my vice. I will admit that I still struggle with it. I know this about me, but I also know how to balance things out and how to do other things as well. And so that body part, that intentional movement, a lot of us are sitting down all day. We're just sedentary. You need to get up and move. Even if that's just to get up to take a deep breath, set an alarm and work for an hour, take a 10-minute break. Work for another hour, take a 10-minute break. You need to do something to keep your body moving, because your body is so important. And if you don't treat your body well, if you don't fuel it the way it needs to be fueled, if you don't energize it the way it needs to be energized, then all this other stuff that you want to do is going to be impacted. And so for me, the intentional movement and the body component is really huge, because you have to understand your body, and everybody's body isn't the same. This does not mean you need to spend 2 hours in the gym. It's not what I'm saying. 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, is the national health standard, just 30 minutes of activity every day. 30 minutes. That's really not a lot to ask, but people will neglect that to do all these other things. So instead of scrolling on Facebook for 30, instead of making that TikTok video to go viral, instead of doing all those things, give me 30 and just do something that you can handle, that your body can handle. There's so many different exercises out there. There's really no excuse for you not doing something. And then when it comes to eating, this is how I told my kids, you can either start now and learn how to eat right now, or be told later on that you can't have the things that you like. So what would you prefer? Would you rather be able to do things in moderation and you control what you put in your body, or do you want to just keep putting all this stuff in your body that's harming you, and then you're told in 20, 30 years, well, you can't have that anymore, because if you do, it's going to be detrimental to your body. So it's sort of those things. It all goes back to a word you said earlier: consistency coupled with discipline and commitment and accountability. Those 4 things to me are 4 of my anchors. Those are the things that I hold myself to all the time in everything that I do. And there's been days where I don't feel like getting up and working out. This morning was one of them. It was hard this morning, but I got up, I worked out, and every time I do it, I don't regret it. I don't ever say, oh, I wish I never worked out. I don't ever say that.
Yeah.
I always feel good. It fuels me. And I'll probably sleep really well tonight because I am sore. I'm telling you, am I sore today? I will probably sleep well tonight.
It's the Deion Sanders mantra: look good, feel good, play good, pay good, right? And that's the core. When you feel good, everything goes behind that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I 100% agree. So this has been great combo. Taman, I want to ask you this last question before we take it out with some closing words and some information and all of that. What would you say to someone who's feeling the nudge? They're like, you know what? Listening to this, I think I need this. I think I need a space. I need to take this time, invest in myself to do this reset, refocus, rebuild retreat. But I just don't know. I'm still a little bit hesitant. Is it really a good use of my time? Is it really going to be what they say it's going to be? What would you say to someone who's a little bit hesitant?
Well, I would challenge you just two quick fold. Number one, just get silent with yourself. Again, you can ask all the questions on the surface, but when you get quiet within yourself, all of us has more potential inside of us than we're actively pursuing. And then so when you recognize that, okay, maybe that be true, where do you find the pathway within your sphere of influence? Because if the people that we're surrounding ourselves with aren't the ones that's going to help us get there, right? Your current sphere was 100% capable of getting you here, but it's not going to be that conducive to get you where you want to go. And so number one, you recognize that potential, but then more importantly, really wrestle with, do you believe you're worth the investment? I share with you, I spend probably $20,000 a year working on me, retreats, mastermind groups, all the various things. Why? Because I'm worth it, but I see the return on the investment. Why I spend that kind of money, because when I get in different spheres of people who are dreaming bigger, I'm in some groups with people that are scaling billion-dollar companies. When I get in those type of environments, I start to see different possibilities, right? One of my favorite quotes, I'll just leave you with this one, is man's mind once stretched never returns to original form. And so even if you came and got your mind stretched by possibilities, you went through all this great content we're about to put you in, getting you thinking about, and you're at least going to recognize the possibilities and the potential in front of you. You will never leave the same. And again, if you start to look at the world around you and you start to recognize how much you deserve it and you need it, I would challenge you that one layer deeper. How much does the world around you need you to be better? Because people are hurting, and you can't help poor people if you're poor yourself. You can't help people who are unhealthy if you're unhealthy. You can't help people who are going through it if you two are going through it at the same level. And so the world around you only gets better when you get better. So even if you aren't there, if you're worth it, ask yourself, is my family worth it? Is my friends worth it? Because again, mental health is a real thing. All the various things, money back guarantee, you're going to leave a significantly different, better version of yourself with all the tools to improve your life, period.
I love it. I love it. And I will add my final thoughts onto that. I agree with everything you said. I love it. Do you believe you're worth the investment? And get silent with yourself. You don't rise by accident. You rise by intention. And you heard Tamian say intention quite a bit. So before you rush back into the noise of life, give yourself permission to sit with one question. What part of me have I been neglecting that needs my attention now? Reset so you can breathe again. Refocus so you can see again. And rebuild so you can become again. Resetting isn't a weakness. Refocusing is definitely not selfish. And rebuilding isn't starting over, it's starting alignment. So if today's conversation stirred something in you, that's not random. That's your inner wisdom saying, I'm ready for more. The reset, refocus, rebuild isn't just a theme, it's a pathway and a way of life. And if you're feeling the nudge to go deeper, to recommit to yourself, to realign your life with purpose and clarity, then I invite you to join us at the retreat when we start to promote it. I want you to take one step, make one decision. You deserve a life built with clarity, not chaos, with intention, not impulse. Your future will thank you for the choice you will make today or whenever you make that choice once we start promoting that. This really, y'all, was not a sales pitch. That's not what this was about. This was really about Tamian and I having a moment to tell you our purpose, our passion, our motivation, our inspiration around even doing this retreat. You heard this is a decade in the making. It is not something that we've been just stewing for years and years and years. As far as talking, it is something that at the right time, in the right moment, when we were both at the Culture Cove during a Quiet Cove retreat, this came together. The timing was right. The timing is needed. What's going on in this world today is definitely, this is the right time to do this sort of work. So let's do a shift in 2026. My theme for 2026 is let's be rich in 26. And rich does not always mean money. Rich has many different layers to it, and everybody's richness is different. For those who want to follow me for social media, please follow me on all of these social media sites. I'm on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, also on YouTube. You can find me on LinkedIn if you're watching here on LinkedIn. Tamian and I will be working on getting information out about the Reset, Refocus, Rebuild Retreat in 26 at the beginning of the year in 26. But we wanted to take some time to share our passion and our desire and why we want to do this particular retreat. And so, Tamian, do you want to provide any social media details for all the wonderful work that you do with Think 3D with our audience?
Yeah, really. Anyone can follow us, Think 3D, Elevate You, or just Tamian Dicehart on LinkedIn and Facebook. So I love inspiring the world to step into their higher potential is my mission in life. So follow along and excited to see many of you at the retreat.
All right, you all. That is a wrap for tonight. We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Sensei Speaks. Thank you for engaging and in listening. To keep the conversations, please subscribe to our channels and turn on notifications to know when we go live. In addition, we love your comments. We love hearing from you. We will answer your comments. So if you send something on LinkedIn or on YouTube, if I can't answer it, I will make sure Tamian can. Or if it's for Tamian, you know how to find him as well. I would like to leave you with my closing line, which is protect your peace, honor your purpose, and speak your truth. And with that, I will see you next month.